Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Neil Gold Piano. Welcome back to another episode of the NVP Show. We got a lot of things to talk about today, including the World Cup of Hockey, the NHL preview as training camp just got underway, and also a couple really exciting college football games later on today. So without further ado, let's get to it. So the first thing we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the World Cup of Hockey. Obviously, now we're into the playoffs, whatever you want to call it, semifinals, whatever, and looking back at what we've seen throughout most of this so far is that a lot of people really loved watching Team North America. Obviously now they're eliminated, they're no longer in it, so a lot of people's predictions about seeing Team North America versus Team Canada is over, which a lot of people are disappointed by, including myself, because I really love watching Team North America, and I got to give a lot of credit to them right now. Just seeing those young kids, 23, 24 years old, playing together and doing really well is great. They really had nothing to lose. They were the youngest, most inexperienced guys in the World Cup of Hockey, and they really just tried to go out there and prove that they could play with the best, not only in the NHL, but the best in the world. Because not everybody on these teams is an NHL player. There's several guys on Team Russia that are not in the NHL. They're in the KHL, which is the big Continental Hockey League up in Russia. The big, they like to call it Super League, if you want to call it that. It's a term that the Russians like to use, but it's fine with me. But like I was saying, they're really impressive, honestly, and it was just fun to watch. They played a game, and I'm trying to remember the team right now, but they played them and they won in overtime 4-3, and it was awesome. They won in overtime. It was exciting. People were jumping up and down, and it was really, really fun because if you look at a lot of fans from the United States, obviously watching Team USA struggle, and we'll get to them a little bit later, but just to see them struggle, it was just frustrating. But it was frustrating to watch. But then you go to Team North America, which is consisted of players from the U.S. and Canada, and just seeing them play is phenomenal. There is a little bit of controversy, though, for next year's World Cup is saying, should they be a team or should they be put on Team Canada and Team USA? I think for right now you should keep Team North America because I think fans really want to see the young kids, the up-and-coming guys. You saw Austin Matthews, this year's #1 overall draft pick of the Toronto Maple Leafs, play. You saw Connor McDavid. 2 years ago, he was the #1 overall pick of the Edmonton Oilers. You saw Nathan McKinnon, the talented guy out of the Colorado Avalanche. You saw Matt Murray, who just won the Stanley Cup a few months ago with the Pittsburgh Penguins, play well. And so you just saw a lot of young talent that's going to come up and really make an impact in the NHL season. Maybe not Austin Matthews, but we'll see. I wouldn't be shocked if he was on the Maple Leafs at the beginning of the year. But anyway, going far back to the beginning of what I was saying, now you're down to 4 teams left. And the 2 games that are coming up here are Team Europe will face Team Sweden, and that's going to be on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. So that should be fun. But tonight's going to be really fun. You have Team Russia versus Team Canada. Finally, we get the 2 hockey superpowers. One of the 2, probably the top 2 in the world right now. You have Sidney Crosby versus Alexander Ovechkin. Sid the Kid versus Alexander the Great. And let me tell you, I love these type of matchups. I always watch Penguins versus Capitals in the NHL because you have Ovechkin and Crosby, and you're just going to see a very good game. I expect it to be somewhat high scoring. I know that Carey Price is going to be in for the Canadians. I think Varlamov, I think it's going to be Bobrovsky in the net for the Russians. I would probably expect both teams to score at least twice, maybe 3 times. But I'm going to go with saying I think Canada's going to win 5-3 with an empty netter. The reason I say this is because you look at how they've dominated their opponents that they played, including Team Europe, who was the top team before Canada, and they were battling for the #1 seed going into the playoff format, the semifinals. And it was just exciting. It was great to watch. And you really just have to appreciate just how talented these players are. And remember, Canada's obviously mixed with a bunch of NHL players. Everybody, Sidney Crosby, Steven Stamkos, Carey Price, Shea Weber. The list goes on and on and on. So you just have to realize that these are all guys on NHL teams that are getting kind of like a nice little workout before their training camp starts. But what I was saying before is that you have a bunch of guys on Team Russia that are not on, they're not in the NHL. I can't name a few of them off the top of my head, and I apologize. But you have to realize that there are some guys on this team. If you look it up, you look at them, you won't find them in the NHL dictionary or anywhere like that. You'll find them for their KHL teams. Look at Pavel Datsyuk, who just retired this last year from the NHL, that will play in the KHL. He's technically not an NHL player. He's a KHL player because he'll play his last season or two in Russia, in his homeland. So, like I was saying, you have a lot of talent, but we got to really get to the point of this matchup, and that's going to be, like I said, Alexander the Great, Alexander Ovechkin, versus Sid the Kid, Sidney Crosby. The two top players in the world, and they've been there since they got drafted. Obviously, in 2004, you had Alexander Ovechkin as the #1 overall pick of the Washington Capitals, and then the strike year of 2005, Sidney Crosby was drafted #1 overall and a lottery pick by the Pittsburgh Penguins. And in 2006 was their first year, technically both their first year playing together, because Alexander Ovechkin played in 2004 in his rookie year. But what you have to see is that both these guys are obviously a lot more mature than they were when they were younger. It's been pretty much a decade since both of them have been drafted. And they are, like I said, still the top two players in the world. And it's incredible to watch them play. Alexander Ovechkin is the only guy I've ever seen to constantly average 50-plus goals a year. It seems like to him scoring 30 goals, which to a lot of players, like the average NHL player, is a great season. To him, it's a poor performance. Even if he scores 40, it's still like, how did he not score 50? Because this man has a slap shot that is incredible. I know he doesn't have the hardest shot, but he has one of the fastest shots I've seen. If I was a goalie, I would be a little bit afraid seeing Alexander Ovechkin on that power play, getting set up, because if you watch him in his games, he'll set up on that left side for the power play with his stick up in the air like this, ready to take that slap shot. And that's scary because he can blast it. And he'll put a hole through that net. I know there's already holes through the net, but he'll put an even bigger hole through it. And so you just have to realize that he is an incredible player, a phenomenal player. Now let's get to Sidney Crosby. He's much more quiet. He's a very quiet individual. He doesn't like to brag about himself that much. He cares more about the team. He's a two-time Stanley Cup champion just this last summer, winning the Stanley Cup. So remember again, congrats to him. Two-time Stanley Cup champion. And if that doesn't, that'll be very fun to watch. So you'll have to really realize that this is going to be a very exciting matchup here tonight. That's going to be at, if I have it here, I do, 7 o'clock tonight on ESPN2. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to do some previews of some college football games later on today. So we'll see if we can get back here on the NVP Show.
Today's show is sponsored by Hargrove Demolition, your demolition experts. Hargrove is a family-owned and operated business right here in the southern New Jersey area, bringing you 45 years of demolition expertise. Hargrove has all your demolition needs, from emergency demolition service to demolition equipment rental. Hargrove is one of the state-approved recycling facilities right here in the southern New Jersey area. No job is too big or too small for Hargrove Demolition. Contact them today at one of their 3 locations.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to give a sub some sizzle, this is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
If you haven't been to Speed Raceway, what are you waiting for? You want to live fast? You want to make every second count? Then grab the family. Round up the guys. Speed Raceway is 100,000 square feet of excitement, whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. Speed Raceway is the place for endless fun all summer long. Log on to speedraceway.com or just get here now.
When we make Beyond Natural dry dog and cat foods, we start with real meat as the first ingredient. We leave out corn, wheat, and soy. And we own where our dry food is made. 100%. Can other brands say all that? For nutrition you can trust and your pet will enjoy. Does your food go beyond? Learn more at purinabeyond.com.
Extra Innings is the nation's premier indoor baseball and softball training center, featuring indoor batting cages, 7 multi-use tunnels, and training rooms. Extra Innings can provide professional instruction, private and group lessons, and the best year-round clinics. Along with a nationally recognized pro shop that features the latest and widest selection of equipment and apparel, our experienced staff can provide you with the right instruction and help you find the best equipment for your ability and budget. Extra Innings, where the game never ends.
Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
Welcome back here to the NVP Show. So let's move on to our next topic. We're going to talk about college football. And I really love talking about this. It's one of my favorite subjects to get on here in the world of sports. Obviously, we're into week 4 now of the college football season. And we've already, through the first 3 weeks, have had some exciting matchups. I mean, big-time matchups. We've had some big-time teams go down, a lot of upsets. Look at Notre Dame. Now, all of a sudden, they're unranked going into their matchup today against Duke. When was the last time you would say that Notre Dame is unranked? They got pretty much, excuse my language, the crap kicked out of them by Michigan State last week at home. It wasn't like they were in East Lansing. No, they were in South Bend with touchdown Jesus and all that stuff. And they pretty much got blown out. Michigan State absolutely kicked Mofobo in that game offensively. Obviously, at the end, Notre Dame was making some sort of a comeback, but it was like garbage time, and it was too little too late. But anyway, let's go back to some matchups. Let's talk about a few games that have already happened this week. I believe on Thursday, Clemson defeated Georgia Tech 26-7 in Clemson's opening ACC game. Obviously, Clemson has dropped to now number 5. They're out of the top 4 right now. But look, it looks like this year they're going to quietly become maybe a team that's going to sneak in there. But unless they can start really blowing out some teams, especially some good teams like Florida State, and when they play Louisville, if they play Louisville this year, it's going to be really, really, really interesting to see how Deshaun Watson goes. Because if he wants to even try to sniff the Heisman at this point, he's really going to have to get it going. Speaking of Deshaun Watson, in the game, he went 32 of 48 for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns. And I got a chance to watch the highlights of that game. He looked pretty good, honestly. He really looked like he was calmly working his way. I think he's probably the number 1 quarterback going into next year's draft. And he looks like, not necessarily a dual threat, he looks more like a drop-back quarterback that has a very strong arm that can get the ball out there deep when he needs to. But only time will tell to see how he develops, because you know these college quarterbacks, a lot of them, they look really good in college and don't really pan out in the NFL. Johnny Manziel and RG3 are about the 2 biggest examples I can think of. Also Ryan Leaf, for all you fans that really want to go back to 1998. So only time will tell to see how everything goes with that. Next game I want to look at. Last night, what a game we had between number 24 Utah and USC. It was a back and forth matchup until USC started breaking away. At one point, they were up 24-10 in the third quarter. But Utah didn't give up and came fighting back and won the game 34-27. And USC continues to remain unranked in the playoff. And it's just, when's the last time you remember USC being unranked? Now, granted, they have a little bit more leeway. Obviously, with a new coaching staff, a lot of new players. They're trying to get off everything that happened with Steve Sarkisian after last season. They're just trying to forget about all that stuff and move on. So, obviously, you understand that it's frustrating. Last week, USC got beat up pretty good by Stanford, and I will talk about Stanford a little bit, but it was frustrating for USC knowing that they had a 2-touchdown lead and let it slip away, especially in the third quarter. And if they had just scored one more touchdown, maybe 34-10 or 31-17, that game was over. That game was definitely over. So you got to give a lot of credit to the Utah Utes, who are now 4-0. And let me tell you, out of the West Division of the Pac-12, watch out for Utah. They were really good last year. Obviously didn't finish the way they wanted to. But they could really be good this year. And they could be that team that if Stanford continues to roll, that could be that team that could give Stanford a lot of fits and prevent them maybe from making the Final Four. But we'll talk about that a little bit later on. But I want to give a big credit to Troy Williams, who was the starting quarterback of the Utah Utes. He had a really good game. He went 21 to 34 for 270 yards and 2 touchdowns. And another quarterback that just looked really calm in the pocket. He did make a few mistakes. He didn't throw an interception, but he made a few mistakes that could have cost them the game. But I saw him on the sidelines with his offensive line, and especially his whole offense, and said, hey, we're not done yet. We got a lot of game left. And this was about midway to almost the end of the third quarter, saying, we got a lot of football left to go here. We got to score here, make a stop. We're rolling. We're good. And that's what they got. They were rolling and rolling and rolling. And for USC, unfortunately, they had a few chances to put the game away. I remember the game was tied. I believe, the game was tied. And USC had a third down, and I believe it was about 3rd and 8. And Max Brown threw a pass, and the guy was wide open, and he dropped it. And if he had caught that pass, they would have gotten into field goal range and at least had a chance to run out some clock and maybe win the game. So USC, that's on them for blowing that type of lead. But still, you can't get on them fully because they've been struggling, and they're trying to move on from all the stuff that's been happening the last couple of years. But now let's look at the matchups for today. There are some really exciting matchups, including probably the best matchup that I can think of, that I can see, that I've seen today. It's going to be Penn State versus Michigan in Ann Arbor. 100,000 plus fans going to pack the big house. You have the Nittany Lions rolling in. Obviously, they're not off to the world's greatest start. They had that tough loss, I believe, 2 weeks ago against Temple, where they almost won the game. And then they had they had a tough game against Pitt. That was very tough. And so you have to look at it and realize that, look, Penn State might not be great, but they're still very competitive. And Michigan, ranked 4th in the country, and I'm going to have my beef here. I'm really sick and tired of people trying to make me believe that Michigan is as good as people want to point them out. They haven't played anybody. Penn State's their first Big Ten matchup. Now they're getting into Big Ten play. I want to see what they have when they play against teams like Penn State and even Rutgers. So, just saying, I know Rutgers isn't great, but still, you got to see how they play. If they don't play as well against these Big Ten teams, especially against the Big Ten teams they're supposed to beat, why do they deserve to be in the top 4, let alone the top 10? I mean, that really bugs me. I know people really love Michigan, and they want to see them in the Final Four. They love Coach Harbaugh and all his antics and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. They haven't played anybody yet. If they go out and play like crap today, excuse my language, they go out and play like crap today against Penn State and win by like 3 points, why do they deserve to still be number 4? Really? And if they lose, I swear, if they're in the top 10, if they lose to Penn State, I'm going to have a fit. Because they really don't even deserve to be in the top 10. And I'm sorry, I might be badmouthing a lot of people that are Michigan fans, a lot of Wolverine fans, a lot of NCAA people. But really, come on. They haven't played anybody yet. I know they've blown out almost every single person they played. But no, they don't deserve to be in the top 4 right now. Maybe later on in the year, if they start beating some teams and, they get to that game against Ohio State, the game, and blow them out or just win the game, yeah, I could see it. But not right now. Come on, people. There are several teams. I definitely think Louisville deserves to be more deserving to be in the Final Four than Michigan. They beat the number 3 team at the time, Florida State. Come on, people. Let's get real here. But anyway, the one player I want to look out for in this game is going to be Trace McSorley, the young quarterback for Penn State. He's kind of had it up and down, obviously taking over for Christian Hackenberg now with the New York Jets. And now McSorley's trying to go. And you know what? I think McSorley's better than Christian Hackenberg. I know it's early in the season, and I know he's finally starting. But I saw him playing that bowl game last year, the Outback Bowl against Georgia. Looked pretty good. Almost led Penn State back to a victory when Christian Hackenberg got hurt. And he looks good. Obviously, he's made a few mistakes, but he's thrown a couple touchdown passes. He hasn't really had a horrific game. Even the game against Pitt when they lost. His interception in the game, it almost was caught. It was intercepted. It was made by a great play. But it was still a great throw. I haven't seen him throw a pass I could say, wow, that was ugly. I mean, that was disgusting. No, he looked really good. And so you have to give it time. And I think McSorley is going to get better and better. And also I want you all to know to watch out for Saquon Barkley, the running back for Penn State. 6 touchdowns already. It's going to be a very impressive game. All right, we're going to take another quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue with our college football previews. So we'll see you when you get back here on the NVP Show.
Sub some sizzle. This is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Simply Gents, located in Marlton, New Jersey, takes care of all your grooming needs, including haircuts, straight razor shaves, massages, facials, manicures, pedicures, and waxing. To find more information or book an appointment, visit us online at www.simplygents.com. The secret weapon of a well-groomed man, Simply Gents.
If you haven't been to Speed Raceway, what are you waiting for? You want to live fast? You want to make every second count? Then grab the family. Round up the guys. Speed Raceway is 100,000 square feet of excitement, whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. Speed Raceway is the place for endless fun all summer long. Log on to speedraceway.com or just get here now.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, this is what we do. It's what we've been doing. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do. So what are you doing? Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Today's show was brought to you by Alicia Kelly of White Horse RV Center in Williamstown, New Jersey. Alicia is your RV expert. Contact Alicia at whitehorserv.com or give her a call at 856-262-1717, extension 203. When you think of RV, think Alicia Kelly.
Today's show has been sponsored by Farmers Insurance in Voorhees, New Jersey. To protect your assets and the people you love, call Mike Skoranek, your local Farmers Insurance agent, at 856-336-2553.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Back here to the NVP Show. I'm your host, Neil Piano. So let's continue on with our college football previews. And this one I'm going to talk about is exciting for my own personal benefit. And this is going to sound very weird as to why I like this matchup, but trust me, you'll understand after I explain it. We have Boise State versus Oregon State, the Broncos versus the Beavers, the blue turf of the Boise State Broncos versus the bright freaking orange of Oregon State and the Beavers. I mean, come on. This is exciting to me. I enjoy this because I love Boise State. I've always loved their uniforms. I've loved the blue turf. Who has a blue turf? That's crazy. You look at that and you're just like, what the heck? I mean, they're so popular. They even host a bowl game, the famous Idaho Potato Bowl. And trust me, a lot of people watch that game for the specific reason that they have a blue turf. And you look at Oregon State, the Beavers. Like, who hasn't named the Beavers? It's so, I know it has to do with a lot of people in Oregon and stuff, but still, it's like really random because not a lot of people are called the Beavers. And they have bright orange uniforms. Who has bright orange besides teams like Clemson in Texas? But they have bright orange. It's so bright that it actually will hurt your eyes when you watch the game. My dad said, I had a lot of people say to me that, like, they went blind watching Oregon State play because their uniforms were so bright. And I went blind too. It was crazy. And so, it's really exciting to me because obviously both these teams are off to, they could be off to better starts, but, they're up and down. Pac-12 versus MAC. Obviously you have a good matchup. Boise State coming into Oregon State. Obviously, I probably would prefer to see the game be played at the blue turf because, I love the blue turf. But still, you have to take what you get. But the reason that I really like talking about this game is because you have a matchup of two interesting quarterbacks. For Boise State, you have Brett Rippon, who is the son of Mark Rippon, the quarterback for the Washington Redskins, who led them to the Super Bowl in 1991. So it's kind of interesting to look at the fact that you have another, like a son or a nephew. You know, you have Chad Kelly up at Ole Miss, who's a nephew of Jim Kelly, the Hall of Fame quarterback for the Buffalo Bills. But going back to Rippon, he's done pretty well so far, completing 41 of his 60 passes for 646 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not great, but solid. I like a lot of quarterbacks that don't like to force a lot of things. Am I a guy that likes to take chances? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, I like my quarterback to realize to not have to force a deep pass. You know, I just don't get it when these coaches, when they say, I don't care if the receiver's triple covered, you throw that deep pass. Most of the time, it's going to either be knocked down or picked off, and then who's going to get the blame? Quarterback. If we're saying, why in the world would you force it into triple or quadruple coverage? That makes no sense. So kudos to Rippon for not trying to force the ball in there. And also you have Darryl Garretson, the transfer out of Colorado, who's coming into a very interesting situation. I saw him play in the first week against Minnesota. He looked pretty good. They almost came, Oregon State almost came back and won the game. And he looked pretty good. He didn't make that many mistakes. He's completed 40 of his 70 passes for 400 yards exactly and 3 touchdowns of his own. Again, not great, but good. Consistent. A lot of these quarterbacks, I love it when they're consistent, not when they're taking a amount of chances. That's what a lot of these coaches need to look for. They need to look for consistency. Can these guys, on a consistent basis, lead their team down and play well, even if they lose the game? Can they walk out of the stadium after a tough loss and say, all right, you can't put this on the quarterback because he did everything he could to win this game. So you can't. So like I said, this is a battle of consistent quarterbacks. And you have to realize that, obviously, like I said, the blue turf and the bright orange colors. For those of you that don't know, I'm a big fan of big-time uniforms and big-time fields and all that stuff. And also I want to get to a point about a uniform that I saw this last week. And I think all of you, if you look it up, you're going to get a kick out of it, honestly. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. But I want to say one last thing about this game. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think you're going to see a lot of scoring because obviously you don't know. A lot of these times, these teams, when you have two teams that don't know each other that well, you're going to see a lot of plays that happen and that go well. They usually don't go well because you don't play them very often. And you don't know who they are. You don't know what their talents are. Yes, you get film and you go through some things, but you don't know. You don't really know until you actually start playing them in the game. So we'll see how that goes. Make sure you check out that. That's going to be on tonight on Fox Sports 1 at 3:30, actually, 3:30 Eastern. So, again, if you're a college football fan like myself, you're going to want to watch a lot of games. If you're bored, you don't know what to watch, check this game out. You might be surprised to see how fun this game can be. Now, here's a really big game. And I know you guys will think that, why didn't you pick this as the biggest game of the week? You'll understand. Number 11, Wisconsin, heading down to East Lansing to take on the number 8 Michigan State Spartans. What a matchup to start Big Ten week. You have both teams that are undefeated. If you remember, Wisconsin had that big win, upset win in Lambeau against the LSU Tigers. That was a big upset. A lot of people didn't think Wisconsin would even come close to beating LSU, but they did, and they've continued to look good, especially their quarterback, Bart Houston, who's completed 49 of his 78 passes for 527 yards and 2 touchdowns. Does that look great to anybody? No. If you're a stat person, no. You'd say, how can you say that's good? Again, back to my point. Consistency. Consistency is the biggest word. It's about leading your team down, not forcing a lot of turnovers, not making a lot of mistakes, and doing really well. That's what you have to realize. Because if you have a quarterback that takes a lot of chances but isn't consistent, you're not going to win a lot of football games. You might score a lot of points, yeah, but you're not going to win a lot of games. You look back at the 1990s when Houston was scoring 50, 60 points because they ran the run and shoot offense and threw the ball 95% of the time. Yes, look at Andre Ware. He won the Heisman at Houston. But he also made a lot of mistakes. And that's the thing that a lot of people didn't realize until he got to the NFL, that he forced a lot of things. When he panicked in the pocket, he didn't throw the ball away. He tried to fit it into really tight windows. He made a lot of mistakes and didn't last very long in the NFL. That's another one of those cases. That's what I mean when I say that you got to wait till these quarterbacks get in the NFL, because if they're making a lot of mistakes, if they're forcing a lot of things, you don't want to do that. You shouldn't look at just the big-time plays, the touchdowns, the Heisman moments. You got to look at those mistakes. That's the thing you really got to look at when it comes to these things. You have to look at, say, okay, does this guy force the ball a lot? Does he panic when the pressure gets to him? When he runs out of the pocket and there's nothing there, does he take off and try to get yardage and try to hurt himself? Or does he throw the ball away and try to avoid losing any yardage or anything like that? It's all these things. So you have to realize it. But going back to what I was saying, it's going to be a really interesting matchup between Wisconsin and Michigan State. Back and forth battle, not a lot of scoring. But the one guy on Michigan State you want to look out for is L.J. Scott. Obviously, he made his name known last year in the Big Ten championship game against Iowa with that great play trying to score to help Michigan State get to the college football playoff. He's blossomed into a pretty good running back for the Spartans. He's carried the ball about 42 times for 203 yards and only 2 touchdowns. But when it comes down to short yardage and getting those necessary yards that they need to run out the clock or to get those big first downs, he's the guy that Michigan State goes to. Because Tyler O'Connor, he's looking very good as well, the quarterback for Michigan State. A lot of people have a lot of confidence in him, including myself. And he's really doing a good job of a lot of these things. And you have to realize that Tyler O'Connor, this is his 5th year. He's been behind Connor Cook for the last 3 years. He's barely played, and now finally in his last year, he's finally getting a chance to prove what he can do. So is it really shocking that he's doing this well? A little bit, just a tiny bit, but you have to remember, he has a lot of experience backing up Connor Cook, who's done a bunch of incredible things. Win the Rose Bowl, win the Cotton Bowl, help lead Michigan State to the college football playoff. Those are 3 phenomenal years. And now all of a sudden, Michigan State's 3-0. They're number 8 in the country. And if these upsets continue to happen, which honestly they're going to continue to happen because this is what happens in college football. No lead is safe. No team is ever impossible to beat. Anything can happen. College football is like baseball in a way. Anything can happen on any given day. It's incredible to see how many games happen. Look at that, like I said, look at that game between Utah and USC. Look at that. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. USC, you would think, oh, well, this game's over. We're up by 14. You're late in the 3rd quarter. USC's driving. They're going to score. It's going to end this game, be up by 21. Utah's going to be out of the top 25. Game over, blah, 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 blah. First loss, all that stuff. Didn't give up. Look what happened. Done. USC blew it. Utah's still ranked. Probably going to move up a little bit, maybe a rank or 2. We'll have to see after the games today. But yeah, like I said, you just got to realize that, anything can happen, ladies and gentlemen. Hear me when I say this. Anything can happen. So for all you football fans, and not just college fans, but football fans who are watching games today, and you're fans of some team, whether you're a Notre Dame fan, Rutgers fan, Alabama fan, Southwest Texas State fan, I don't know. You just have to realize that anything can happen. So never count your team out, regardless of who you're playing. I'm a Rutgers fan, and when I see them play Ohio State, like the first year they played Ohio State, I was the only person that I knew that was saying, I don't know, maybe something can happen. For all we know, Rutgers could come out, score 21 points in a row, and win this game. We never know. Because no team is totally, not beatable. Any team is beatable on any given day. You play a team long enough and you play a team hard enough, that's what you do. That's why I love these underdog matchups. When these teams that aren't supposed to win come out and just surprise the living crap out of these teams that are supposed to win. It's amazing to see. You look at North Dakota State. Were they expected to beat Iowa last week? No. But they came out and played really, really well and beat Iowa in Iowa. And that was crazy. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll do a few more college football previews, including some local games around here that should be interesting to watch. So we'll see when you get back here on the NVP Show.
Saving your business money is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Tanker Consulting Services, a payment solutions expert, will show you how with a free, detailed, written analysis illustrating your cost savings. We usually uncover savings between 10 and 25%, and sometimes more. We can help your business succeed by providing reliable and secure merchant payment solutions such as merchant services programs, point-of-sale systems, and ATM machines. TCS, one of the leaders in regional credit card processing consulting, offers electronic payments to merchants locally and nationwide through our preferred vendor programs. We work to keep business costs down with a comprehensive suite of quality products, services, and customized credit card processing programs exclusively tailored for your company. TCS is convenient, reliable, and innovative, with customer service available 24/7, 365 days a year. Our in-depth industry knowledge, partnership strategy, and innovative processing solutions allow for a specialized approach to providing merchant bank processing with 100% full fee disclosure. TCS is one-stop shopping for all your merchant services solutions. Our clients save money 100% of the time. Trust Tanker Consulting Services, the knowledgeable, professional, and friendly provider of secure payment services. We set the standard by which others are measured. Call now for a free written analysis. 609-922-0201.
Sub some sizzle. This is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Simply Gents, located in Marlton, New Jersey, takes care of all your grooming needs, including haircuts, straight razor shaves, massages, facial, manicures, pedicures, and waxing. To find more information or book an appointment, visit us online at www.simplygents.com. The secret weapon of a well-groomed man, Simply Gents.
If you haven't been to Speed Raceway, what are you waiting for? You want to live fast? You want to make every second count? Then grab the family. Round up the guys. Speed Raceway is 100,000 square feet of excitement, whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. Speed Raceway is the place for endless fun all summer long. Log on to speedraceway.com or just get here now.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to make a really great sub, this is what we do. It's what we've been doing. It's what we've always done. It's what we'll always do. So what are you doing? Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
Today's show was brought to you by Alicia Kelly of White Horse RV Center in Williamstown, New Jersey. Alicia is your RV expert. Contact Alicia at whitehorserv.com or give her a call at 856-262-1717, extension 203. When you think of RV, think Alicia Kelly.
Today's show has been sponsored by Farmers Insurance in Voorhees, New Jersey. To protect your assets and the people you love, call Mike Skoranek, your local Farmers Insurance agent, at 856-336-2553.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Back to the NVP Show with your host, Neil Villapiano. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit more about college football. We got a couple more previews here. Let's talk a little local here. Let's go a little local. Obviously, I know we're a little closer to Philly, but also, I'm giving you my perspective from down living in Central South Jersey. To people here, it'd be South Jersey, but Central Jersey, and we're going to talk about a big matchup down in Piscataway, Iowa versus Rutgers. Iowa's coming off a tough loss last week, getting upset by North Dakota State, and they're coming into their first Big Ten matchup this year against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. First time that both these teams are ever facing each other, so it should be interesting. And there is a little bit of, there's a little bit of local news that I want to talk about, and that is there's a guy on Iowa, and his name's Alcrane Widely, and he's a halfback, and so I believe he's the starter, but I heard he was definitely going to get a lot of touches today against the Rutgers Scarlet Knights, and that should be good because Rutgers, as I've seen so far throughout the year, has struggled against the run. I went to the game. I saw it live. I went to the game that Rutgers played last week against New Mexico, and they didn't look that good. New Mexico runs the triple option from like a spread version of the triple option, and it just didn't look good. Rutgers was down 21-0 by the time I got my seat, and I was a little bit late to the game. It was 21-0 by the time I sat down, and I was thinking, geez, gonna go 1-2 getting into Big Ten play. It's gonna be a long season, but no, they fought back and they won the game, and now they're 2-1, 1-2 in a row, and now they got a little bit of momentum as they get ready for this game. And what's interesting is that there are a lot of people who think that this could be an upset. This could be a trap game for Iowa. You know, they're coming in maybe a little bit shaken. Their confidence a little bit shaken, losing at home to North Dakota State, a team that they probably should have beaten, but they didn't. And they're coming in to Piscataway, New Jersey. Rutgers are taking on the Scarlet Knights and trying to see how everything goes. And I think Rutgers, they need to get off to a good start. That is the number. I'm telling you right now, if you are a Rutgers fan and you know what I'm talking about, in all 3 games, Rutgers has gotten off to a terrible start and let their opponent get on the scoreboard early. Again, a team like Iowa, if Rutgers does that, they're going to get blown out and they're not going to be able to come back. They might make a small comeback, but it's going to be too late. If they get off to a fast start and get the ball rolling and score some points and get on Iowa early, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. It's going to be a good game. They're going to have a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think you would probably see both teams score at least 30 points. And I know that every week you guys are saying, geez, he always goes with the high octane offense. What's with this guy? I'm an offensive guy. I love offense. And so sometimes I feel that defenses are weak, and I feel that maybe they're going to do it. But you have to remember, Iowa is one of the top defenses in the country. They're really good. They have the #1 cornerback in the country. Forgot his name off the top of my head. I apologize for that up front. So all you guys can bust my chops about that as well. But the #1 quarterback in the country, and they also have probably, in my opinion, the #1 quarterback in the country. Everybody's like, what are you talking about? Deshaun Watson is the #1 quarterback in the country. Yes, I do think Deshaun Watson's a great quarterback. I just don't think he's the best quarterback in college right now. I think the best college quarterback right now is C.J. Beathard, quarterback for Iowa. He's done pretty well. In my opinion, like I said, #1 quarterback going into next year's draft. He led Iowa to the Big Ten championship game. He led them to the West Division championship and led them to a Rose Bowl. Obviously, I don't want to say the word choked, but he played pretty well against Michigan State, did everything he could. He didn't turn over the ball. He didn't make mistakes. That loss against Michigan State was not on him. But the loss against Stanford, getting blown out the way they did, yes, that was mostly on him. He really didn't look good. He looked very uncomfortable against a tremendous Stanford defense and really freaked out. So, but he's looked good this year. Obviously, you want to shake off that loss that Iowa had against North Dakota State, and I think he's just going to get better. So far, Beathard has gone 43 of 70 for 579 yards and 7 touchdowns, which is the second most in the country behind Lamar Jackson, the quarterback at Louisville, for obvious reasons. That's the second most. That's incredible. And so it's going to be really fun to watch, and I'm personally looking forward to watching this game because I really love C.J. Beathard. But let's talk about Rutgers because, like I said, locally we got to talk about Rutgers. Rutgers football. This is our state college. That's what we're here for. And the #1 thing that is continuing to drive me up the wall is the quarterback position. Chris Laviano is an up and down guy. He is very bipolar, in my opinion. At one moment, he could be terrible, absolutely god-awful. And I saw him last week against New Mexico. When they were down 21-0, he looked horrible. And then he started playing well and scoring some points and led them to a couple touchdowns and led them to victory. But you need consistency. I saw an interview one time in a press conference for Chris Ash, the head coach of Rutgers, say, we're looking for consistency in our quarterback position. How in the world do you consider Chris Laviano a consistent quarterback if he constantly is bipolar? It just drives me up the wall. And he's been, and he had that controversy last year, just cussing out all Rutgers fans, saying, "I get no love here. I know that I'm the quarterback at Rutgers. I'm the guy who represents the school." All that stuff on Instagram. What? That's not good. And he was one of the guys that was in trouble for beating up a police officer on campus. Are you serious? Consistency is where it's at. And I think a lot of people would rather see somebody else like Giovanni Ricciano or Zach Allen, the transfer out of TCU, or God forbid, Hayden Redding, who was really good last year and now all of a sudden has disappeared. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the coaching staff. Maybe it's the offense. I don't know what it is. But for some reason, he's disappeared. Now, look, I'm not trying to bust anyone's chops on Rutgers. I'm really not. It's just coming from a disgruntled Rutgers fan who has seen this team for the last couple of years struggle when it comes to big-time games and definitely struggling at the quarterback position. I haven't seen a really good quarterback at Rutgers since Mike Teal. So, that's the number one position everyone looks for. And Chris Laviano is a guy that people boo every time he walks on the field, even this year. Even after he makes big plays. They boo him. If you hear over the loudspeaker, Chris Laviano, pass it complete, the whole freaking stadium is going to boo him. They're going to boo him mercifully, including myself at sometimes, but not all the time. But really, it's just, we have to wait and see. If Chris Laviano can continue to get better and be more consistent, not just in practice, but in the game, then I'm okay with him playing. But if he continues to not be consistent in games and make a lot of mistakes and force a lot of plays, please stop putting him in. Don't put him in and let Rutgers get down by 21 points to Iowa and think that, oh, we've already made 2 comebacks this year. We'll make another one. No, don't do that. Please don't do that. Now, one last thing I want to talk about with Rutgers. So everyone's up in arms because athletic director Pat Hobbs, on a video, was caught chugging a beer with some fans during a tailgate before last week's game. And all of a sudden, everybody was throwing up arms. What's the big deal? All he did was chug a beer. What'd he do? It was one. It wasn't like he chugged from a keg or anything like that. It was one. One. What in the world is everybody freaking out about? If you look at what Pat Hobbs has done compared to what the previous athletic director did and the previous president of Rutgers University, what are you serious? Why is this a big deal? And they had to cancel one of the tailgating spots. They had to say, oh, we're not doing that anymore because of this. And I'm sitting here and I read the article. I even saw the video. There was a time when they had the video online. Whoopie-doo. What's the big deal? Really, who cares that he had it? I understand he's athletic director, and a lot of people, especially in the school, are going to have a problem with it. But really, are that many people going to flip about it? Is Rutgers going to be on, another one of these segments about all this stuff? Is it really going to be a big deal? Relax, people. We're only into week 4 of the year, and this is only his 9th month on the job. Chill out. We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we're going to do one more college football preview, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Kevin Garnett and his retirement. So we'll see you when we get back here. This is the NVP Show.
Today's show is sponsored by Hargrove Demolition, your demolition experts. Hargrove is a family-owned and operated business right here in the southern New Jersey area, bringing you 45 years of demolition expertise. Hargrove has all your demolition needs, from emergency demolition service to demolition equipment rental. Hargrove is one of the state-approved recycling facilities right here in the southern New Jersey area. No job is too big or too small for Hargrove Demolition. Contact them today at one of their 3 locations.
When it's time for Jersey Mike's to give a sub some sizzle, this is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because that's just the way it's supposed to be. Jersey Mike's. Be a sub above.
If you haven't been to Speed Raceway, what are you waiting for? You want to live fast? You want to make every second count? Then grab the family. Round up the guys. Speed Raceway is 100,000 square feet of excitement, whether you're a kid or a kid at heart. Speed Raceway is the place for endless fun all summer long. Log on to speedraceway.com or just get here now.
When we make Beyond Natural dry dog and cat foods, we start with real meat as the first ingredient. We leave out corn, wheat, and soy. And we own where our dry food is made. 100%. Can other brands say all that? For nutrition you can trust and your pet will enjoy. Does your food go beyond? Learn more at purinabeyond.com.
Extra Innings is the nation's premier indoor baseball and softball training center, featuring indoor batting cages, 7 multi-use tunnels, and training rooms. Extra Innings can provide professional instruction, private and group lessons, and the best year-round clinics. Along with a nationally recognized pro shop that features the latest and widest selection of equipment and apparel, our experienced staff can provide you with the right instruction and help you find the best equipment for your ability and budget. Extra Innings, where the game never ends.
Today's show has been sponsored by More Than Gifts. Come see our new location in Marlton, New Jersey. Not just gifts, but more.
Sub some sizzle. This is the way. The way it's always been. The way it always should be. The way it always will be. Because
All right, welcome back here to the NVP Show. We've got a few minutes left here. And so, again, just a little bit of thank you very much for listening to my show. And also, make sure to stay tuned after I'm done. Philly sports guys, Pete and Aaron, they're going to be talking about a bunch of different things, a bunch of different topics. It should be a lot of fun. I know, I've seen it a few times. It's a blast to listen to them talk. And so, just make sure you stay on after my show. Check them out. And also, make sure you check me out on Morning Coffee on Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays early on in the morning, about 9:30 in the morning. Give a little bit of a 10-15 minute sports update. Make sure you check out that as well. All right, back to our last college football game that we're going to talk about. Monmouth University takes on Charleston Southern today at 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern on ESPN3. So you can watch that on your tablet or on your phone or whatever. You can watch that on any of those devices, but you'll be able to watch that on TV today. But the reason I bring up this game is because it's kind of interesting. Monmouth University is coming in. They're 2-1. Look pretty good. They got blown out by Kent State last week. I think it was 31-7, and they did not look good at all. But they're pretty good. It's their second year in the Big Sky Division, obviously a bigger conference than what they were used to being in the NEC. And now they're taking on Charleston Southern, who, I might add, has been on national TV, I believe, every single game they played. Charleston Southern has had 2 tough losses so far. They're 1-2 going into this game. 2 tough losses. You go back to week 1, which was about week 4 of the preseason for the NFL. They lost 24-17 in overtime to North Dakota State, who in Division 1 AA or whatever you want to call it, FCS, whatever, number 1 team in the country. Charleston Southern came out and played a great game. They looked really good. They have some really good uniforms, quote unquote, just saying. And just, they looked good, but they lost and it was very tough, and I felt bad for those guys. And then they go play Florida State in Tallahassee and get destroyed. And they had 8 guys suspended due to academic problems. They got 8 starters. So they were already wounded going into the game. If it wasn't bad enough that they were playing Florida State, they get wounded and they got destroyed. 52-8. It wasn't even close. It's just Charleston Southern scored a touchdown at the end of the game. Whoopie-doo, at least they didn't get shut out. But still, their confidence must be low. Going through the academic stuff, and now they got blown out by Florida State last week. Now taking on Monmouth, who's probably a little bit more confident. They got beat up pretty bad, like I said, against Kent State. But at the same time, it's still, not a big deal. But make sure you really tune into that game. It's going to be, and I just want to say last thing. What's interesting about this is that this is just one of 3 home games Monmouth has all year. They're playing a lot of their season on the road. I don't really know exactly why. It's just kind of how the schedule works. But I'm definitely going to try to go check out that game later on today. Like I said, 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN3. It's also in West Long Branch at Monmouth University. In case any of you people from where I'm from are going to go check out that game, make sure you go check it out. Last thing I want to cover, and it has nothing to do with football or anything. It has to do with basketball. Kevin Garnett yesterday announced his retirement from the NBA. And I want to say it was a pleasure to have him in the NBA for, I believe it was about 20 years. 2 decades. That's a long time to do something you love. And he was a great player, all-star numerous times. He won an NBA championship with the Boston Celtics with Paul Pierce and Ray Allen, the first big 3 I could ever see. They were great. He played for my favorite team, the Brooklyn Nets, for a few years, and he helped them. He was a big difference for the Nets, and I loved it that he retired. He went back and retired with the team he got drafted by, the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was just great. So I want to say congratulations to Kevin Garnett on his retirement. I'm glad that he is not retiring because of injury or anything like that. I'm glad that he's going to close the book and he's going to move on with his life, and I will guarantee you that he will be a Hall of Famer the first year that he's eligible to get in. So like I said, congrats to him, and hopefully he'll have a great, great, great retirement. So that's really going to wrap it up for me today. I want to thank you all very, very much for always tuning in to me. It's been a pleasure. Having you guys listen to me is just great. I'm here always talking about sports. I really enjoy talking about it with you guys here at home. And I want to thank everyone here at the studio. I want to thank my family. I want to thank everybody for continuing to make this possible, to let me bring the world of sports into your living room or wherever you are. So thank you all very much. And stick around after I'm done to take on the Philly Sports Guys with Pete and Aaron. And it should be a great show to watch. And also make sure to catch me next week on the NVP Show. Same time, 10 a.m. next Saturday. Make sure to catch that. We'll see you later. And so have a great day out there for all you NVPs out there.